this Ordinary Council meeting of 30 June 2025. Could I call upon Councillor Imad to provide us with a civic affirmation?
We, the councillors of Armidale Region, declare that we will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest of our community and faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in us to the best of our skill and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Imad. And could I call upon Councillor Witters to provide an acknowledgement of country?
Yeah, just I want to acknowledge that we meet on traditional lands and pay my respects and our respects to elders both past and present, and to my fellow countrymen and countrywomen who reside within the regional council boundaries.
Thank you very much, Councillor Witters. I'll call upon the General Manager to make a statement regarding live streaming.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This meeting is being audio and video recorded, and the recordings of the non-confidential parts of the meeting will be made available on the website. No other persons are permitted to record the meeting unless specifically authorised by Council to do so. And can I ask that all mobile phones be set to silent, please? Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. We now just move to the apologies and applications for leave. I note that Councillor McMichael is not here. She's being shuffled around by Qantas and may join us at the back end of the meeting. So there is that. The next one, disclosure of interest. Councillors, having reviewed the agenda, do any of you need to declare a conflict of interest? No? Excellent. Then the first item to vote on is item 5.1, the confirmation of the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting held on the 28th of May. Could I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Redwood. Seconded, Councillor Imad. Councillor Redwood, anything to say?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Excellent. Councillor Imad? Right. Okay, let's put this to a vote. All those in favour of adopting those minutes? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 7.1 is around ethical decision making. This report's a standing item and is a guide to councillors, and councillors are asked to note this report. Could I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Gadders, and a seconder. Thanks, Councillor Redwood. Councillor Gadders, anything? Councillor Redwood? No. All right, councillors, let's put this to a vote. All those in favour of noting? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 7.2 is the Council Actions Report, which summarises the actions taken on the resolutions of Council from October 2024, and councillors are being asked to note the report. The details of this are from page 7 of the agenda and page 17 of the attachments. Can I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Enders, and seconded, Councillor Imad. Councillor Enders, anything to say? Councillor Imad? Okay, councillors, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 7.3, the New England Weeds Authority update. So this really is what I suspect will be the last of these New England Weeds Authority reports. Council is being asked to note that the dissolution of the Weeds Authority took effect on the 16th of June, and those biosecurity responsibilities are now transferred across to Armidale Regional Council. Details page 8 of the agenda and page 32 of the attachments. Do I have a mover? Put something on the screen. Thanks, Councillor Redwood, and the seconder. Thanks, Councillor Gadders. Councillor Redwood.
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Gadders. All right, councillors, let's put this to a vote. All those in favour of noting the report. Councillor Witters, where do you stand? Okay, I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 7.4, which is, relates to a hay donation to flood-affected communities. The report is seeking Council's endorsement of a delivery of hay to flood-affected communities that took place in May. Details are page 10 of the agenda. Can I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Tabor. Seconder, thanks, Councillor Imad. Councillor Tabor, anything to say?
Yeah, look, and thanks to everybody who acted very quickly on this one. As we know, it's such an urgent thing for it to happen. I was lucky enough to accompany the load of hay down to Taree with Kelly's Transport, and thanks to them for doing the donation of the freight.
But when I got there, to see the devastation was just unbelievable. So thank you everybody for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tabor. Councillor Imat, anything?
Mr Mayor, I just want to say this was a great initiative by ARC to help our brothers and sisters down in the coast, and it's a great initiative. Thank you for Councillor Tabor for bringing it to light.
Excellent. Anyone else?
Yeah, yeah. I concur with what's been said. Hopefully, over the next week, though, with what's to come with the weather, that where we sent this isn't in need for some more, and that they are spared from the current weather events.
Indeed. Thank you. All right, councillors, all those in favour of endorsing that delivery, somewhat retrospectively, thank you. That's Councillor Robinson. Where are you on this vote? Okay, thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Councillors, I'm going to, as we discussed at the GM briefing last week, I'm going to defer item 8.1 because it's logically out of order. We'll come back to that after we have voted on 10.1. So let's jump to the 9 series now, and we'll go to 9.1. This is boundary realignment of 4 Bell Avenue in Armidale, which is ultimately going to involve ARC purchasing a small parcel of land there. So details are from page 17 of the agenda and 40 of the attachments. There is a recommendation on the screen. Could I have a move, please? Thanks, Councillor Witters. Seconded, Councillor Redwood. Thanks. Councillor Witters, anything to say?
Hopefully this is just a one-off, this little small bit of land. It looks like some sort of administration error back when typewriters were probably used and someone forgot to press a button and move a bit of land parcel backwards. So hopefully there's no more of these little bits and pieces floating around.
Thank you. Councillor Redwood? No. All righty. Let's put this to a vote. All those in favour of doing what needs to be done? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Item 9.2 is the courthouse walkway. So this report follows on from the February Ordinary Council meeting where Council adopted a process to upgrade the old courthouse walkway and courtyard. The only material change is the grant funding that was hoped for of $300,000 that was sought but unsuccessful, and this report is seeking Council endorsement to fill the gap from the SRV fund and developer contributions. So we have details on page 21 of the agenda and 43 of the attachments. Can I have a mover? Thanks, Councillor Redwood, and the seconder. Thanks, Councillor Gadders. Councillor Redwood, anything to say?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think this is very important. It's a shame that the grant funding didn't come through as we expected, but as was explained to us, there were some other projects considered more important from a heritage aspect of the actual asset itself rather than the surrounds. Having said that, the proposal that was put to us as a council and to the community really presented a fabulous, well, it will present a fabulous result for us. And when you take into consideration all of the community feedback that came in and blending that together into what we put forward for the grant funding, I think it's very important for us to support the full redevelopment of that area and really open up the mall and access down to Moore Street. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gadders. Councillors, does anyone else wish to speak to this? All right, let's put this to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 9.3 relates to 22 Post Way, where the report is seeking Council to grant consent to a development application subject to conditions. We have details on page 21 of the agenda and 49 of the attachments. There is a recommendation on the screen that is quite detailed. Could I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Redwood, and seconded Councillor Witters. Councillor Redwood, anything you wish to say to the motion?
No, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Witters? No. Right, let's put that to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 9.4 is an amendment to the Armidale Regional Local Environmental Plan, which is seeking to strengthen the planning environment, which will ultimately increase our housing supply. Details from page 39 of the agenda and 89 of the attachments. There is, again, a recommendation on the screen. Could I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Redwood, and a seconder. Thanks, Councillor Imad. Councillor Redwood, anything you want to say to that motion?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think it's important that we ensure that our planning instruments keep up with where we want to go. We're a region that's declared that we want to grow, and to be able to do that, we need to have the right, as I said, instruments to be able to do that. So, important move, and fully support that.
Thank you. Councillor Imad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just noting that this amendment will fix the problem of 9.2, 9.3 recommendations having come to council. Would that be correct?
But recommendations?
In 9.4 for the LEP changes, that will fix the problem that we've had to vote on in 9.2 and 9.3.
I would need to divert to our chief of planning.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Councillor. Yeah, the idea behind this amendment to the LEP is to correct that anomaly which we dealt with for the dwelling at 22 Post Way, so that in future those development applications can be dealt with under delegated authority to the staff. Thank you.
Good pick up there, Councillor Imad. Anyone else wish to speak to this? All right, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 10.1 is the adoption of the the final integrated planning and reporting documents. So the item comes to us after a period of public consultation in relation to the 4-year delivery program and resourcing strategy, the 12-month operational plan and budget, the fees and charges for the coming financial year, and the revenue policy for the coming financial year. Details are from page 42 of the agenda and 148 of the attachments. The recommendation actually contains 6 points with extensive subpoints. Can I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Redwood, and seconder. Thank you, Councillor Gadders. Councillor Redwood, anything you wish to say?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, thank you to the staff that have done this extraordinary amount of work. I know it's part and parcel of what they need to do each year, but it is an extraordinary amount of work, and of course the consultation has gone with it, and of course to us as councillors as well for going through the whole process to arrive at what we call here the final, the piece de resistance of the IPNR framework for this year and moving forward for the next 4. It's very important. We've had the experts in the room present to us what we need to do. We've had the community feedback there, through the consultation process, and now I think it's time to make the brave decisions behind it.
Thank you. Councillor Gadders.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Echoing what the Deputy Mayor said, but look, folks, this is the set of documentation that sets the staff, the council, and the direction for the entire ship for the year to come. It takes a lot of time and effort and number crunching to get to this particular point. So, again, thank you to all those that were involved, including the councillors. We've sat through many workshops along the way to get to this, and noticing that on the last day of financial year, we're going to hopefully get this locked away and give everybody the direction that we need for the year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Robinson.
Well, I did, if I can get a second, want to move a slight amendment in relation to the water charges, and maybe that will come up on the screen. And basically,
So that's Councillor Robinson, just for clarity, in which
And basically, for clarity, just means that to freeze the water access charge at the current rate and follow the proposed increases in the consumption charges, and that we consider all the rest. We're going to have a consultation on this in the future, ideally as soon as possible, and just the idea that we think about what we planned as a council, as a group of councillors, 2 years ago, or just over 2 years ago, when we set our ideal water charges. And maybe that's just saying that maybe when we do the consultation, we'll look at fairer charges and look at all the details and dot all the I's and cross all the T's, and that we have the consultation as soon as practical with a view to implementing it as soon as at the earliest opportunity. So,
thank you. Well, maybe there's a few pathways to this. Firstly, to see if the mover and seconder are willing to accept that, and if so, we can do that. If not, so mover and seconder. Any? We'll start with the mover. No, just wait, Councillor Ryan. Mover and seconder.
I mean, for me,
essential. Well, before debating it, just do you want to do it? But you can have it.
No.
Okay.
But to arrive at my no, I was hoping to understand what fairer meant, because I don't know fairer to who.
What we
and to
might
what.
do, Councillor Redwood, is we'll just see if we can. If you're a no, so we'll just need to see if there is a seconder. You were, but it was whether we can slot Councillor Robinson's amendment into the original motion. As the mover has said no, then now Councillor Robinson is seeking a seconder for her amendment. So is there a seconder for her amendment? Thank you. So now Councillor Witters has seconded it. So Councillor Robinson, you've moved a motion. Do you wish to speak to that a bit further, and then Councillor Witters, anyone else, and then we'll vote on this and see where we land?
Well, the main reason for this is that, yes, we're going to have a full consultation later in the year, and that will be a good way to try and work out. But at the moment, what we've had with our water charges is that the access charge, which particularly affects the low water users, and if we looked at the figures that were given to me a couple of years ago, 58% of water users use less than 30 kilolitres a year. There will be others, I mean, and 90% roughly of residential users use less than 70 kilolitres per quarter. So when I said a year, I meant quarter. And these are the ones that we've had, and because the access charge is going up and up and up every year since 2021, these users have been responsible for a higher and higher proportion of the total water revenue, whereas the high water users, and if we ever want to encourage conservation, and encouraging conservation might be a good idea if we don't really get our integrated water strategy up and running within 5 years. There could be another drought, and another drought could mean that we run out of water. So encouraging conservation in the high water users would be a really good thing to do in case we do find we're running short and the weather plays tricks on us. So really that was just the two things. One, it's fairer because when we increase our water supply, it's going to proportionally benefit the high water users rather than the ones who are using a tiny fraction of the secure yield after raising Malpass. And at the same time, because one thing, what I was thinking is that looking at the figures, if you look at inflation, the access charge has gone up by way more. It used to be 250 in 2021, and now it's going up to 355, which is way above the rate of inflation. Whereas the consumption charges, this is the first increase we've had since 2021, so it's just evening it out a bit. It will have a slight impact on the revenue, but then we can make up for that next year when we implement a completely different charging structure, or I hope we'll implement a completely different charging structure, because I think it will certainly help if we do with our integrated water management cycle, because that's what the government will expect when we apply for funding. So it's a win-win We help the low ones, the low-income people who are in this cost of living crisis. We encourage a small amount of water conservation by not increasing the access. They will produce a slightly higher proportion of revenue, and we'll also set ourselves up better for applications because we're starting to look at conservation, and that's the best way to do it. Because conservation should start with the really high water users, and these are the ones who are using half our treated water at the moment. And if they conserve water, then everybody else will benefit, and it'll be cheaper in the long run. All our water bills will be cheaper in the long run because we won't need quite so much new infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Witters. Councillor Robinson, can you?
Yeah, seconded this to get it on a bit of a discussion happening, but just listening to Councillor Robinson and reading some of the submissions that were put in, I know it's a bit of a hot topic in regards to some people in the community. And I was just also thinking about some of those big high water users and some of the porcupines, well, they told throughout the drought and how other people in the community missed out because of their usage and their lies on their usage. But I'd like to listen to the discussion more on why people would vote against this recommendation first. So I actually seconded it so I could hear a bit more nuanced conversation in regards to why this amendment, along with some of the submissions put in, would not be beneficial compared to what's in the original papers.
Thank you, Councillor Witters. We might just continue with the. I'll throw this open to councillors because we're determining whether we're determining whether to accept this amendment or not. So, would anyone like to speak? Councillor Armidale.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now, I've done the calculation on the original proposal, and I originally agreed to second this on the basis that it's revenue neutral. So that original proposal showed a $700,000 hit. Now, with loss, yeah. I know we've gone to a different proposal from what I was given, and that's a $341 charge. I'll look at it in the scheme of things, it's only $14. And we got a lot to do in the water space between ageing infrastructure, Guyda Water Treatment Plant, Armidale Water Treatment Plant. They all need upgrades, and I don't think we can take a hit on the income as a council. When you take into account the charges we levy onto the ratepayers, they have not moved over the past, I think, 4 years. Someone can correct me. Usage charge with the access charge has gone up slightly, but the variation ARC is proposing is a 5% increase, and if we take it over the previous 4 years, it averages less than 1% increase. Now, I've taken a case study on a family of 4 different seasons with a yearly average of 63.75 kilolitres. What is being proposed doesn't make a difference at the end of the day, so it's too much work. Now, what raised my blood pressure, that I've seen some communications from the Greens now, and they talk about cost of living. Now, can I remind the Greens that the pursuit of renewable energy is the single most...
a little off topic, Councillor. I'm
addressing the cost of living presented in the email. So the pursuit of renewable energy has sent power prices rocketed. Now, the Greens are not talking about cost of living savings there. So I'm not sure why ARC are going to be pushed on $14 and be represented as somewhat we are unfair to the ratepayers. I think with a $14 increase, and what is being proposed, I think we should just let it go, work over the next proposal. I'd like to see families save money, but this proposal will benefit people of one or two, but families, the real battlers, will not save. The figures are there, they speak for themselves. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Ahmed. Anyone else? Councillor Redwood.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of questions, if I may, to Councillor Robinson. You talked about the high water users. Now, I'm assuming that high water users that you're talking about are businesses.
Well, it seems sensible to classify high water users as the extreme 5% of all water users, or in fact it's 4.6%, I think, which is basically, in our case, in the data that we've had, is anybody using over 100 litres a quarter. I mean, those are the statistics. That only one in 20 uses that.
If I could surmise, then, Councillor Redwood, you're talking about who actually are they? So
yeah, I'm not necessarily asking Councillor Robinson to name them. But,
all right, so not like hospitals and.
But well, yeah, the groups of them. I mean, but my assumption then, I guess they're employers, and they're the people that employ the hardworking people that we're talking about now. If we make it too difficult for the employers to be here, again with a growth agenda, I'm not sure that that's going to be received well by those people that then are not employed by the employers, because it becomes unfeasible to be in our region. So from my point of view, if we want to help the cost of living crisis, I think the first thing we should do is make sure that people stay in jobs. And to stay in jobs, I think we need to have reasonable access to one of these essential elements of business, which in this case, to these high water users, I think is water.
Thank you.
Could I just say that
no, Councillor Robinson, you will have a right of reply at the end before we go for a vote. Does anyone else wish to say anything? Councillor Gaddis?
So, yeah. Probably more to Councillor Witter's question, just wanting to open the debate and the discussion. So, putting it quite simply, I'm an absolute hard no to this amendment for two reasons. The first reason is, as we'd mentioned at the top of this particular item, the time, the effort, the work, the calculations that have gone in to building the IP&R documents, which are our budgets for the year going forward. And then at the 11.5 hour, we're suggesting a change which would underpin a level of income, which then rolls through what we need to do in the year ahead of us on a budget point of view. These sort of discussions could have been held earlier, and if so, everybody agreed and the work had been done, they would have been baked in by now as the correct answer. Doing this sort of thing on the fly, so I'm a hard no on that particular answer. Specific to what's going on, I've also done my calculations as a private resident on what's the public information, what is being proposed here by the council for the next year in terms of water usage. This puts, I'd consider ourselves to be an average household. Our kilolitre rating, while seasonal, is just on 59 kilolitres a quarter, which is, not earth-shattering. We seem to be quite good and average at that point of view. The usage that's proposed here in the budget will put my water bill up by 1.9%, which is less than $20 per annum. To me, as a resident, an average resident, I think that's pretty good value to be able to turn the taps on and have clean treated water. So I'm a hard no on that purpose as well of this amendment going forward.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, Councillor Robinson, a right of reply before we...
Well, I think the first thing to say is that this motion doesn't put up anybody's water bill. It doesn't put up any of the water bills of the high water users. They're going to pay more or less the same. It will slightly reduce the pressure on the low water users. And that basically is anybody, including Councillor Gaddis, who uses less than 70 kilolitres a quarter, which is now says he is. He might save, you know, $10 or $20 a year. It's not a lot, but basically the idea is that we reduce the strain on the low water users so that we can start thinking about how we might have a fairer water charge in the future. So that's all. I mean, I do hope we can do this. This is only the first step, saying yes, okay, it's only $14 for everybody, and that will basically reduce the strain on some of our water users. And the idea is that we'll do the consultation, we'll try and look at who gains and who benefits and how we can manage our integrated water management cycle in the future, because there's an awful lot of work to do. And what I haven't seen yet, and I hope I will see in the future, is some estimates or some analysis of needs, because that's the one thing that's missing. We're finding at the moment that we're told that we need 4.3 gigalitres a year, and we're only using 2.2. So why is it we're using so little and need so much? It's something that really we have to look into. And just this is a good step on the road to encourage or just pay a little bit back to the low water users, because they've been slowed way from $2.50 to $3.55 is about a 33% increase in access charges and only 4% in consumption charges. So let's redress the balance, because the New South Wales government said that only 25% of the total bill for residential bills should be access charge, and we are way over that. And the New South Wales government also says consult the community. So when we consult the community, I'm guessing that this is what they will want, but we'll wait and see. But why not put this as a step on the right direction?
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Councillor Gadders, what you'd already spoken?
I have. If I could be granted another 30 seconds, I just thought of say Councillor Robinson is very right on something she just pointed out. I just want to bring everyone's attention back to that, if I may.
What was that?
Well, she's quite correct. The only real number that's up in there is the $341. So this discussion's not about water usage charges, it's about the 341. So thank you for pointing that. It's quite correct. And if I may continue, Mr. Mayor?
Very briefly.
Briefly. Well, so as you know, learned colleague, I believe Councillor Imad has a sharp mathematical pencil and said that if we were to move this down to $341, it would take around $700,000 out of our inbound revenue for the future years. So I guess my question would be to Councillor Robinson and the other councillors, if with $700,000 less income in our pocket going forward in the budget next year, which projects will we not be doing for the community?
Thank you. We might take that as a rhetorical question.
Yeah, well, can I? No, I need to correct it. It's $14 a user is about $150,000. It's not $700,000. So it's basically Councillor Imad was looking at a different scenario. We've got about nearly 11,000 users and $14 per user.
Thank you. We're probably doing maths on the fly, but we do have our CFO who's indicated that it's about 550 with changes across the board. Councillors, let's put this to the vote. We're voting on the amendment. All those in favour? One. Those against? Sorry, where were you, Councillor Tabor? Thank you. Okay, I declare that amendment has been lost. So we're now back to the original motion, which we only got as far as moving and seconding. We then open the floor up. Would anyone else like to speak on the IP&R documents? Councillor?
Yeah, just on the original, based on the chats there, talked of the cost of living. One of the issues on the amendment was the cost of living. And I think it was mentioned in the discussion about some of the money used with the fees and charges being put towards infrastructure, like the sewage treatment plant, water treatment plant, all that sort of stuff. And knowing the condition and the age of those facilities, upgrades to them are desperately needed. and by putting money into those facilities, I think we'll cut down on the cost of living, because you're not then having to repay for those sorts of things. So I gather the sentiment from some of the submissions and from Councillor Robinson's amendment, proposed amendment. But if we can't drop, and looking at that, the fees and charges are only for a year, so it can be again reassessed this time next year. But I think one of the highest priorities, and I've run on this for 2 terms, is getting those infrastructure things upgraded and sorted for the community. Nothing worse than having a toilet that won't flush, or a tap that won't turn on, or water that smells like bovine excrement. So I think that's where the cost of living issues and pressures may be addressed over the next short to mid term. So again, understanding the sentiment for those people on Struggle Street and looking for the relief, but by putting in the work in other areas, I think we're saving some of the cost of living pressures for them.
Thank you. All right. Councillors, anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Imad? No, you turned yourself off there.
Sorry. I know that the $14 is only $3.50 per quarter. In the scheme of things, it's not much, but I will remind that we are rolling out the smart meters, and those savings can be achieved thanks to Councillor Robinson, who was a pioneer behind the smart meters. So people can make those changes, so it's not going to be really a hit on the pocket of $14. But on the other hand, any decrease in income for us here as a council, we can't deliver the services we've promised, especially in the water field. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, councillors. Now, Councillor Redwood, you moved it. Do you need a right of reply?
No, I won't. Can I just have a quick comment?
Oh, sorry. Sure.
But, I mean, I had quite a lot of problems with this whole process of the budget and the delivery programme, because everything comes to council so late. The submissions were closed on the 22nd of May, and we didn't get them till about a week and a half ago. And when I did see them, I saw that really there weren't any really material changes in response to any of those submissions, which did discourage me quite a bit. And I think the same thing for, just trying to get some, have a dialogue and get these things. It's all sort of just handed down. I mean, I felt everything was handed down to me on a plate, and it was either take it or leave it, and that worries me. And it also worries me because, we now either have to have a budget now today, or we are stuck. So my feeling is I certainly can't vote for a budget where we don't even don't even make any changes for any of the public submissions. And I felt that it was very, very difficult to try and have a dialogue. But I can't vote against it. So what I'll just do is walk out of the room and let everybody else support it.
Okay. Thank you. Just for those watching at home, it would be, just based on what Councillor Robinson said, it would be worth having a look, if her comments resonate with you, have a look at page 588, or from page 588 of the attachments, and there are the submission responses in there. So make up your own mind, having looked at that, whether you think that the response to submissions were fair or not. So anyway, I think we just need to round that circle out. All right, councillors, let's put this to I'll note. So we're now, all those in favour of adopting the motion as per the screen. Thank you. I declare that carried by 7, with Councillor Robinson abstaining. Mark, could you? Yep. Oh, sorry. Thank you. I declare that carried. So just for clarity, I can hear some discussion here from the councillors. An abstention is effectively a no. So that's how the vote falls. So it will be shown as it was passed 7-1 or carried 7-1.
Councillor Robinson wasn't in the room, so that vote was neither a no nor abstention. It was carried out unanimously, I believe, for the people in the room.
Oh, thank you. I might have to go through the code of meeting practice, but I'll be able to shortcut that, hopefully.
Yeah, that's correct, Mr Mayor. That'll be recorded in the minutes as Councillor Robinson not having been present for that vote. 7-0. So those present.
Thank you. Okay, it was passed unanimously 7-0. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, we now jump back to item 8.1. which was the deferred item. We needed the budget to know whether the budget went through or not. So item 8.1 is a procurement exemption. So the report is seeking endorsement to exempt tender requirements for the Datna Group and Technology One, and to provide appropriate delegation to the General Manager. The details of this are from page 13 of the agenda, which spells out why, and there is that recommendation on the screen. So to get things live, can I have a mover for a motion, either on the screen or different? Thanks, Councillor Gadders, and seconded Councillor Redwood. Councillor Gadders, anything you would like to say to speak to your motion?
Just briefly, Mr Mayor, for those keeping score at home, so I'm glad that we were able to put this item after the previous item, which is ticking off the budget. Again, for those at home, the names that are outlined in here, Datna and Technology One, are suppliers to council who offer very large and unique services to this organisation, and that's why they're specifically being asked here to endorse as things like sole suppliers. There's levels where the expertise provided by these particular suppliers will continue to move this organisation forward. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Redwood.
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Imad.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I'm going to take a different tack on this one, and I'm going to recommend that we go out to tender. Now, I say that for a multitude of reasons.
With which, just
the Datna Group, I'm not aware what the other one is. Now, for those listening at home, Datna Group is a group organisation that teaches about emotional control, containing emotions, all those sorts of things, but mainly emotions. And I want to draw attention to the owner of Datna having sat in a room teaching us about emotions, yet she couldn't control her emotions. She brought in her politics, personal opinion, which I personally don't agree with, and two people walked out of the room that I had the chance to speak to, both highlighted that problem. One of them saying that was uncalled for. Now, I'm not going to discredit what they've done throughout the past 3-4 months. Credit to the Datna training, I was able to stay in the blue. Otherwise, I would have gone flying red, green, and responded to Fabienne, I think her name was. Correct?
Yeah, probably best not to mention.
Anyway, so I stayed in the blue and actually said nothing. But that was very unprofessional. Bringing emotions into a business does not work. And I said nothing out of respect to the executive, the staff that were there. If it was us councillors, I would have said something, but still within the blue. So I think they shouldn't automatically get the vote. This should go out to tender. The other thing is it's a pricey contract, so we may be able to get a better deal. That's one thing, and I know there's two of my colleagues who are not doing that training. I probably won't need it, but thank you, Councillor Widders, for recommending it. It did help. So yeah, I do recommend that we go out to tender and potentially we can get a new group that could offer a new perspective. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Ahmed. Councillors, does anyone else wish to say anything? Councillor Widders?
I'm going to test my memory banks here. I think this happened last term as well, and there was a bit of a discussion around why it shouldn't go out to tender. And I think, and I could be making this up, I think a discussion, a chat from the general manager, just in regards on why these two companies are pulled out of this one, and that this motion is the way that it is, or recommendation is the way that it is, and taking in consideration what Councillor Ahmed has said, I'd like to just hear some general thoughts, probably on behalf of the council from the general manager, in regards to why this motion is written the way it is, and the services that both DATNA and Technology One have provided to council probably over the last 5 or 6 years, however long we've had them.
Thanks, Councillor Widders. Mr. Jan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Widders. I'll start with Technology One, and if you go to page 14 of the report, it is spelled out there. But Technology One has been council's computer system for a long period of time. So yeah, and there's currently a significant investment being put into that in terms of going into what they call One Council. It's a new system, cloud-based, and we're rolling out a significant number of programs and can't think of the term, but modules, yeah, across the business. So it's a no-brainer to continue with that. I mean, it would literally, if council was of a mind to want to change midstream now in terms of Technology One versus the only other serious player in the market being Civica, we'd probably be talking between $6 and $12 million to go and do that. I mean, as it is, Technology One is an investment now of probably $3 or $4 million over the next 2 or 3 years anyway, while we're rolling that package out. So I'd certainly recommend against a change with Tech One. And I guess similarly with the current DG program, notwithstanding Councillor Ahmed, the comments that you've made, and I'm very happy to take those back to the DATNA group and talk about. I wasn't aware of that until having heard this, but certainly happy to go back and express to them some of and even refer them to some of the commentary and this section of the tape for them to go and listen to. But I guess more broadly, the organisation's been on a change journey for the last 3 or 4 years, and what we've been able to do, the DATNA group probably provide us maybe 15 or 20% of what we do, and that's that high-end diagnostics and some of the players that are in there currently have developed really good relationships with council staff and councillors, and yet more broadly, and so there's a real significant level of trust that sits around the business and the program that we're doing. If we're not serious about changing provider, then we probably shouldn't be going to the market, because what will be happening is you'll be asking other companies to invest a significant amount of money in putting a tender into the council. Firstly, it will cost them a significant amount, and if we're not planning to thinking about genuinely changing, then I just think it would paint us very poorly, and we would come across as being quite disingenuous. And then the other side of that is that if we were thinking of changing, just the impact that would potentially have right across the organisation too, just in the level of trust, whether another business, every business does this sort of stuff a little bit differently, whether they'd be able to just seamlessly pick up where we've, where the other group have left off and be able to carry that forward, and I doubt that they would. And this program, this change program that we've been on is really, it's embedded around trust, and that's what we've been able to develop. And once you've got trust, you get great outcomes and great buy-in from the staff. We've got a highly engaged, aligned, happy staffing group at the moment, and I just think a change like this would significantly impact that. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Witters, you.
Yeah, thanks for that. So just based on those things, I'll come back to something Councillor Gaddy's mentioned earlier, with the cost of changing 6 to 12 million or whatever it is. What other programs, what other projects could $6 to $12 million do for the council? No, that's a rhetorical question.
Yes. Go. Right. Thank you.
Yeah. Can I just ask a question? I mean, again, this has come fairly, we've only seen the recommendation just over a week ago. Would there be any benefit in maybe having a workshop on this with the councillors to sort of try and iron out and put our heads together and find out whether we can do any better, what we should do, whether we should follow the recommendation or just go out to tender? I mean, it would be good to have some sort of deferral, maybe for a month, so that we could consider that. But I mean, I don't know if everybody's in favour, then it's not worth it. But I certainly thought it might be a good idea to look at it in more detail.
Just for clarity there, Councillor Robinson, are you talking Technology One or DATMA or both?
As far as I know, I haven't heard any problems with Technology. Well, at least I understand what's going on with Technology One, and I don't think we have any options for that.
Thank you. I think for what it's worth, if councillors were to make the decision, we really would need to be across absolutely everything DATMA does for the entire organisation, because this piece here is for the entire organisation, not just for the councillor component. Councillor Witters made reference to the previous term of council where DATMA came up, and we actually made a decision in relation to the councillor component. So again, if you're seeking to do something like that, I'd query whether councillors are deep enough across everything that is being done from an organisational change point of view with the entire organisation. But that could just be me. All right. Let's put this to a vote, unless, I mean, Councillor Robinson mused but didn't necessarily put forward an amendment. Councillor Ahmed, you've spoken, so this will be a question.
Just a question. I know they're coupled together, and I don't want to vote against point C. I first do not know much about it, and I trust the judgment of our staff on that one. The other one, I have my personal experience, and I was to vote on against A and B, but I don't want to vote against C. That is not available to me.
It is. You can move that we vote in seriatim.
I move so.
So you would say, would we like to vote in seriatim?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Do you reckon you could get a seconder? We do. Okay, councillors, all those in favour of voting in seriatim? I declare that carried unanimously. All right. So let's go to the vote. Item 8.1, point A, which is about endorsing the sole supplier procurement for DATMA Group. All those in favour? Those against? I declare the motion carried 7-1. Item 8.1, point B, again, procurement strategy in regards to DATMA. All those in favour? Those against? I declare that carried 7-1. Item 8.1, point C, endorsing the procurement strategy in relation to Technology One. All those in favour? I declare that one carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. We'll just let the tech catch up. We're going to jump now to item 11.1, just have a look over that at will until we get there. Right, item 11.1 is a regular report providing updates on the Kempsey Armidale Road Restoration Project, and Council is being asked to note the information contained within this report. The details are on from page 52 of the agenda and 599 of the attachments. There is a recommendation on the screen. Do I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Redwood, and a seconder. Thanks, Councillor Imad. Councillor Redwood, anything you wish to say to that motion?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Imad?
No, Mr Mayor, thank you.
Okay, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. We now have two committee reports. The first one is the Sports Council in relation to their minutes of the 13th of May, and there is a recommendation that the minutes be noted and decisions made in relation to the Gowra Junior Rugby League grant and some changes in the Sports Council priority list. So could I have a mover? Thanks, Councillor Endres. Seconder. Thanks, Councillor Robinson. Councillor Endres. Nothing? Councillor Robinson? Nothing. Okay. All the good oil is there to read. All those in favour of noting the minutes? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Item 13.2. This is normally a reserve of Councillor McMichael. This will be the first time in 3.5 years that she's not here for it, and she did ask me not to hijack it, and I won't. So the Traffic Committee met on the 3rd of June and 2025. There is a recommendation that the minutes be noted, and we also note a number of specific actions as well. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Imad, and the second can be Councillor Robinson. Councillor Imad, anything to say?
I want you to hijack it. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Robinson? No. All right, councillors, all those in favour of accepting those Traffic Committee meeting minutes? Thank you. I declare that one carried unanimously. Councillors, that brings us to the end of the open session of the meeting. I'd like to seek a resolution to move into closed session, and if passed, we'll get cracking. Thank you, Councillor Redwood. Seconded, Councillor Robinson. All those in favour of moving into closed? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Councillors, I welcome you back into open session, and I will ask the General Manager to read out the resolutions of the closed session.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. 3 items in closed council this evening. Item 15.1, Rockwell Road upgrade. Resolved by council that it endorse the engagement of Stripe Civil Proprietary Limited as the preferred tenderer to a contract value of $2,974,537.19, GST inclusive, and delegate authority to the General Manager to approve any potential variation to the upper limit of the allocated budget of $4.6 million. Item 15.2, New South Wales Public Works tender recommendations for the Armidale Creek Land Restoration Project. Resolved by council that the council endorsed the New South Wales Public Works tender recommendation of local supplier Wallace Construction Services Proprietary Limited being identified as the most advantageous tender and accepted for the contract of the Armidale Creek Land Restoration Project construction of recreational facilities. B, note 2 optional additional work items on New South Wales Public Tender Recommendation RFT 2005-582 and endorse that they proceed if funds become available. And C, delegate authority to the General Manager to negotiate and execute resulting contracts for tender RFT 2005-582 Armidale Creek Lands Restoration Construction of Recreational Facilities. And item 15.3, Mr Mayor, the alternate route rental subsidy. Resolved by council that council approve the payment of a subsidy to the owners of alternate route under the following terms. A subsidy amount of $4,333.33 per month will be paid in arrears for the period from 1 January 2025 to 31 March 2025, totalling $13,000. B, a subsidy amount of $3,000 per month will be paid for the period from 1 April 2025 to 31 December 2025 or until monthly sales reach the sales threshold outlined in this report. C, the alternate route will provide sales information on a monthly basis throughout the subsidy period to inform their eligibility for subsidy. D, the subsidy can only be used for the benefit of the cafe business situated within the Armidale Airport. And E, at the conclusion of the subsidy period, the conditions of occupation will revert to those outlined in the signed lease agreement, which runs through to 1 May 2027. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Mr General Manager. Councillors, but there being no further business, I declare this meeting closed at 5:13 p.m.